Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel, where in this video I have finally done an updated version of my team ahead of the FPL season. Now, over a week ago now, I did my first draft, which was a quick draft, unlike the video, which seemed to take forever to do. But yeah, I've got an updated version of that. So my first draft, the quick draft, was literally just me focusing on game week 1 really. I couldn't really be bothered to look into it too much. Now this draft, which is updated, is looking at teams, well, looking ahead more to game week 4 to 6. So my team should last a bit longer than game week 1. Now, honestly, do I like this team? I look at it and I think, God, this is ugly. But on paper, it does look alright. I mean, game week 1 isn't the best, of being honest, for certain players. But overall, I think it is actually probably a bit better than my previous draft. But there is a certain player that I want in my team that's not in my team in this one. And I'll try to get him in by the time the deadline comes around in just less than 3 weeks now. But anyway, let's go through it then. So starting us off is my goalkeeper, and I've gone for Martinez as a goalkeeper. Aston Villa, I can't put my finger on it if they're going to do well this season. They did obviously awesome last season. Are they going to do well this season now in Champions League? I don't have a clue, to be honest. But anyway, I'm going to go for Martinez in goal. I mean, who knows? He might not even be at Aston Villa by game week 1 even arise, because, you know, he is a hot property goalkeeper. You know, World Cup winner, now Copa America winner. The guy's an absolute machine. He's actually a really good goalkeeper, and I am surprised he's still at Aston Villa, for me, and I'm surprised a bigger club hasn't gone in for him. But if he is still at Aston Villa, he's definitely somebody I think I might have in my team. He's 5 million, and I did say this last week, I'm not going to go for a 4.5 million goalkeeper this time. I'm going to go all out. I say all out, I'm going to go for an extra 0.5 million. And I'm going for somebody like Martinez. I mean, his fixtures at the start of the season for Aston Villa are actually pretty decent for the first 6 game weeks. They've got the likes of Ipswich, Leicester, Everton in the first 6 games. They've only got Arsenal, one of the tough teams in the top 6, top 8 even, to face in the first 6 games. So he's definitely somebody I'm looking at bringing into my team. He's a quality goalkeeper, and, you know, I think he'd be worth going for. Obviously, last time I went for John Pickford, who's also a decent shout, but, you know, Aston Villa or Everton, who's got the better team? Obviously, Aston Villa have. So, for sure, I think, you know, Martinez, more than likely, has got a high chance anyway of being in my team for game week 1. So, on to my defenders then. Starting us off with, I've gone for Konza of Aston Villa. So, that's now my second Aston Villa player already in this team. Bear in mind, in the first draft that I put up, I didn't have a single Villa player. So I'm still unsure about Villa, if I'm being honest. Particularly the fact now they've lost Douglas Luiz. I don't know how well they'll do without him. But anyway, I've gone for Konza. I mean, he's a quality defender. He was awesome last season. He was awesome in that 1 Euros game he played for England. And he's only 4.5 million. Bearing in mind as well, like I said earlier, he plays Leicester, Everton and Ipswich in the first 6 games. First game's West Ham. That will be a tough game. And so will Arsenal in the second game. But after that, it's a nice little run. I mean, Wolves is a derby, but yeah, it's good fixture run, to be fair to him. He's going to start. He's an absolute bargain. It just feels like a no-brainer. It's not really much of a risk, if I'm being honest. It doesn't feel like a risk either. So yeah, that is why I've gone for double up on the Aston Villa defence. So my second defender then, it's Anderson of Crystal Palace. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty annoyed when I picked this team, because what I want is I want to be different from most people, because I've had enough of, you know, doing my team, looking and realising pretty much most people have got the same, which is, it's just irritating, right? But I picked Anderson, and the reason why I picked him first of all is because, again, he's 4.5 million. He's an absolute bargain. He's guaranteed to start for Crystal Palace. Got 2 goals and 3 assists last season. His first 4 games consist of Brentford, West Ham, Chelsea and Leicester. That is a pretty decent start, to be fair. I mean, we're unsure what Chelsea's going to be like, but to have Brentford, West Ham and Leicester, 3 of the first 4 games, is pretty decent, to be fair. And I thought, you know what? Originally, I was going to go for somebody like Tyreek Mitchell, but he's gone up now to 5 million. I could go for Gay, but Anderson's more of a threat. And then on the right side, you just don't have a clue who's going to start. Is it Richards? Is it Klein? Is it going to be Ward? You just don't know. Whereas Anderson, I know for sure he's going to start. But the problem is now, I've checked it, and he's 22.7% owned. Like, Jesus Christ. So that's now him at over 20% owned. I've got Konza, who's nearly 20% owned. It's unbelievable. And even Martinez is over 10% owned. So frustrating, to be fair, because I thought these would be like, differentials at the minute. That's proven not to be the case. But yeah, that is why I've gone for Anderson. He's a decent threat in the air. He's guaranteed to start off Palace, and his first four fixtures are pretty decent. So my third and final defender for now, because this formation is going to be a 3-5-2, and we look at the final two defenders towards the end of the video, and that is of course Virgil van Dijk, which might be a surprise because the guy's 6 million. That's the same price as Robertson for Liverpool. Robertson's obviously more attacking, he gets more assists than that for Liverpool, but he's a rotational risk, and I ain't got a clue what the new Liverpool manager is going to be thinking at all. He could easily completely drop him, go for Simmer-Cash instead. So for me, it's not worth risking right now. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts all the games leading up to the international break, Robinson, but I can't guarantee it, so I'm not going to take any risks at the moment. I'm going to stick with Liverpool's captain in Virgil van Dijk, guaranteed to start. 11.5% owned, so more people own more than, well, there's more people own than I anticipated, to be fair. But the reason why I've gone for Virgil van Dijk is because the first 5-6 games for Liverpool, they're actually really good. Man United is probably the one game, it's probably the toughest, I'd say, in game week 3. But apart from that, you're looking at Ipswich, Brentford, Forest, Bournemouth, Wolves, Crystal Palace in the first 7 games. Obviously, Man United in the mix of that as well. That is pretty decent, to be fair. Now, if obviously Liverpool get off to a good start, they'll be flying. I don't know, obviously, how the new manager's going to be, but Virgil van Dijk's going to play well. He's an awesome defender. He's always known to get goals as well, and even assists at times. He's such a threat in the air. I thought, you know what? I'm not going to risk Robinson. I'm just going to go for a guaranteed starter, and that is why I went for Virgil van Dijk. So the first midfielder on the board I've got here is Bruno Fernandes. Now, the more and more I'm thinking about Man United, the more and more I worry. I'm not going to lie. So, with the transfer window they've just been, what they're having right now, I know some Man United fans online are saying they're having an awesome, obviously, transfer window. But when you look at it, I'm kind of completely disagree now. So, they brought Euro for like 60 million. He went off with a slight knock or an injury against Arsenal in the pre-season game. So that's your big signing gone already. The sign of striker might be a backup to Højlund, and that's it at the minute. They're looking at going for a wing back as well, but that guy has been known to be injury prone as well. So honestly, I'm not seeing really any change at United at all, really, apart from what I've just mentioned in the transfer window for the squad. So do I think they're going to be any better? To be honest, I'm actually quite worried for United. But their first 4 games aren't exactly the worst. Liverpool obviously is going to be a nightmare fixture for them, I reckon, in game week 3, but they are going to be playing at Old Trafford. And before that, they've got Fulham, who obviously has to sell some key players. Brighton, who have been, their selling club a lot of the time. Got new manager as well. Be interested to see how he gets on. And of course, Southampton in game week 4. And they do have Crystal Palace in 5, which I'd say is probably going to be a decent fixture as well. I think they're being highly regarded in FPL because of their end of the last season, but they've lost to Lacey this season. So I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last season. But yeah, so the reason why I've gone for Bruno is just purely based on the fact that he is consistent all the time. He got 10 goals, 9 assists last season. He is on penalties for United. If anybody's going to get a goal in the first few games, this guy surely is going to be getting maybe a goal, maybe assist. I mean, the amount of chances he created for United last season, just couldn't score, was frustrating. So if they get off to a good start, be buzzing, he'll be getting assists, he'll probably be getting goals. I mean, he is over 14% owned, which, doesn't surprise me, I guess, because the guy is consistent. I mean, he had a bad start last season, but he ended well last season in the end. But yeah, he is 8.5 million, so there is other players out there, like a Martin Odegaard. But the reason why I've gone for him ahead of Odegaard is just because Arsenal's fixtures, they're not great. I'm not going to lie. They're not great at all at the start of the season, where Man United is just slightly better, particularly in the first 4 or 5 games. So alongside him is Cole Palmer. Obviously, I mentioned him in my previous draft that he's going to be in my team for game week 1 regardless. I mean, the guy's just an absolute machine. He proved it again in the Euros when he was actually given some minutes. Last season, he was just incredible for sure. He's going to be in my team. So there's not really much for me to talk about Carl Palmer. Yes, the game week 1 fixture ain't exactly the best, but after that, Chelsea are going to have, well, I expect them to be flying from game week 2 onwards. Phil Foden is up next here, and he's my first Man City player I've got here. And I didn't have a single Man City player in my previous draft, so I've already got more Man City players than I did in the previous draft. Now, the reason why I avoided him in the previous draft, like all Man City players, like I said before, I focused on match day 1, and they had Chelsea away in the first game. Now, when you actually look at Man City's fixture afterwards, they're actually really, really good. So, Ipswich, West Ham, Brentford are the 3 games after Chelsea. Then they've got a couple of toughies against Arsenal and Newcastle, but then again after that, in game week 7, they go for Fulham, Wolves, Southampton, Bournemouth, and then Brighton. So 3 games in 11 games is maybe a bit tricky for Man City. Chelsea got a new manager. They could easily walk all over him. I mean, Maresca reminds me a bit like Kompany. Obviously, Kompany was the Burnley manager, not Chelsea. But I think Chelsea might be really opening its Man City, and Man City will just dig them out and score several goals. So I think that's going to be a much easier fixture than it looks on paper. Newcastle still got, I'm not quite sure how they're going to be defensively. And we don't even know if Eddie Howe will be the manager at this point. You never know. He could be the England manager. So that one could easily change to green as well. So you're really just looking at Arsenal in the first, 11 game weeks. So yeah, it just made sense to go for Phil Foden. He is my favourite Man City asset to go for. Storming season last season, 19 goals and 8 assists. I expect him to do, pretty much similar numbers again this season. Obviously, De Bruyne is getting older. Alvarez currently at the minute is at the Olympic Games. So, he's going to be getting more and more minutes. He's going to be starting more and more games. I know that Man City have signed a winger, but I don't think that's going to affect Phil Foden's minutes. So, it just felt like a no-brainer for me to bring Phil Foden into my team. Right, so I've got Morgan Gibbs-White on here next. Nottingham Forest midfielder. Doesn't sound great, does it? But Morgan Gibbs-White is actually a quality player. I mean, he is a bit disappointing when it comes to goals. I expect him to maybe score a few more. But the last 2 seasons now, he's actually got the same amount of goals and assists. 5 goals and 12 assists. So he is an assist machine, to be fair. He's on penalties a lot of the time for Forest. I'm not so sure if he will be if Chris Woods is on the pitch. But nevertheless, Nottingham Forest start of the season is actually really good. So when you look at it, they've got Bournemouth first game. I mean, we don't know if Bournemouth are going to be as good as they were last season, but this game is going to be at the City ground, so advantage their Forest. The first away game is going to be at Southampton. I think Southampton are going to really struggle this season. I really do. Then they've got Wolves. Yes, Liverpool's going to be a bit tricky, should I say, in game week 4. But then you're looking at Brighton, Fulham, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Leicester and West Ham. That is the first 10 game weeks for Nottingham Forest. They need to get off to a good start to the season if they want to stay in the league. And, this is, a worthwhile gamble for me to go for. I'm not the only one though. It looks like 7% of people have already gone for him, but he's 6.5 million. He might be on penalties, he might not be. We'll have to see on that one, but those fixtures look really good. And you know what? I think it's worth going for Morgan Gibbs-White. He is definitely one of the players that I'm highly regard. I'll put it this way. I'm more likely going to have Gibbs-White in my team for game week 1 than I'm going to have Bruno Fernandes. Now then, with my final midfielder, and it was actually my final pick for the team, and that is Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa. So that is a triple up of Aston Villa players, which obviously also means there's no Ollie Watkins in this draft. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have been trying to get him in, but for now he's not in my draft or in my team, should I say. But Morgan Rogers is. Now, I'm not going to lie, I don't know an awful lot about Morgan Rogers in terms of how good he is. Obviously, I know he joined from, Middlesbrough in January. Well, yeah, end of January at the start of the year. He did start a few games for Aston Villa at the end of the season. Got, 3 goals for him. He's added, from the sounds of it, he's doing well in pre-season as well. He's a winger, he's attacking. Aston Villa, obviously, they sold Moussa Diaby as well. So, he's gone, which means there's even more of a chance for him to start in. So yeah, it looks good. I don't know. I'm not an Aston Villa, fan, so I don't know. Will he start? I mean, obviously Aston Villa fans might have a more knowledge than this, but I'm not sure if he will start. He's 6.7 million though, so quite a few people do own him. He's nearly about the same amount as obviously Morgan Gibbs White. And like I said before with, Konza and Martinez, his fixtures at the start of the season are really good. Now, if he does start, he's 5 million. I had 5 million left in the bank, and I've used it all on this guy. So obviously, you now know I've got no money in the bank with this team. But yeah, the start of the season looks really good. And if Aston Villa get off to a quality start, this guy could absolutely smash it. It could be like Leon Bailey last season. We didn't expect him to smash it last season. He did. Could Morgan Rogers do the exact same? There's a lot of hype about him. I don't know an awful lot about him myself, and being honest, I'm probably more or less joining on the hype train here. He's doing well in pre-season. He did score 3 goals at the end of the season. A lot of people are liking him. So yeah, I think he is a worthy punt to go for. He might not even start. He might be on the bench, but that is fine. But yeah, I think he might be worth, should I say, going for. So on to my strikers then. First up in here, I've gone for Darwin Núñez of Liverpool. I mean, I'm expecting big things from Darwin Núñez this season. I mean, I'm pretty sure I said that last season. But again, I'm expecting big things from him. The start of the season looks amazing for Liverpool. We've got a real good chance to get off to a good start with the new manager. Whether they will or won't, we'll have to wait and see. He's 80% owned currently right now. He's 7.5 million. If Liverpool create a load of chances for him, you never know. He could absolutely smash it. Now, usually he lets me down every season. Will he let me down again this season? More than likely. But I just think he's a punt worth going for. Who knows? You never know. Darwin might finally live up to his potential, should I say. And that does lead me onto my second strike on here. And yeah, you probably would have guessed it, because going for my team, I had no Mo Salah. And if you were doing the workings out, you'd realise I had quite a lot of money left over at the moment. But yeah, I do have Erling Haaland in my team currently right now. Reason why I've got him this time, I mean, I can understand why everybody's trying to figure out how to get both of them in right now. I personally would probably just try to get one in, but the more and more I look at Man City's fixtures, the more and more I do want Erling Haaland. Yes, he's 15 million, which is an absolute insane price tag right now. So that is a slight put off, but I've got him in here anyway. Now, at first I thought, well, the guy doesn't really get many assists, so there's not really any point, having Erling Haaland. He just gets you a goal. I mean, the guy scored 27 goals for starters, so that's more than obviously Phil Foden, for example. And he got 8 assists, which is the same as Phil Foden. So the guy is an absolute machine. He's only 35.7% owned though, which is quite surprising when you look at obviously Cole Palmer, who's actually 53.4% owned. So he's a lot more highly owned than, Erling Haaland. So that's, the thing, isn't it? It could be a case of, do you want Palmer or do you want Erling Haaland, really? But yeah, the fixtures after game week 1 against Chelsea, they're too good really to ignore, to be honest. So yeah, as much as I don't want Erling Haaland, game week 2 onwards, I want Erling Haaland. He's on penalties, fixtures look good. It just makes sense to have Erling Haaland in your team. I mean, I really don't want him, but I just can't ignore those fixtures. So yeah, those are the starting line. On the bench, obviously, I've got here, it's popped up now. I've got Matthews of Crystal Palace, third choice goalkeeper. He was just 4 million, so that's why I picked him. Look, he's not going to play. He was just cheap. My first defender, Craig Dawson. I mean, Wolves have a horrible start to the season, I'm not going to lie. They've lost their best defender and their captain, Max Kilman. He's been sold. But he was 4.5 million. He was cheap. Will he be on my team for match day or game week 1, should I say? Probably not, if I'm being honest. But I was just looking at 4.5 million defenders at the start, and he was one. As was Dizazi. But to be honest, I'm not sure Dizazi will start for Chelsea. If Fafana's back, that's another defender. I just don't have a clue what, obviously, Marasca's going to be thinking ahead of game week 1 for Chelsea. So he's in here. Don't get me wrong, if I have him in my team and he's on the bench for game week, I keep saying match day 1, bloody Euros. But if he is in there for game week 1, then, I will have to get rid of him. But if he starts, it'll be great, because those fixtures are great. But I really do want a Chelsea defender for game week 2 onwards. So I'd love to know if he would start or not. But yeah, the fact that he was 4.5 million, if he does start, that would be an absolute bargain. And then, of course, that leads me to my final player, and the player that I had in my previous draft in Tom Cannon. So he's one of 2 players that I kept in. It was just, I struggled to find a place to get a third striker in that was, decent. I've got Tom Cannon. This is just really praying that he starts ahead of Daka. I don't think Vardy will start. I mean, hopefully he does start Cannon because he's a better striker than Daka, but we'll see. But yeah, that's why I've kept him in 4.5 million. If you get a 4.5 million starting striker, then bonus. I mean, don't get me wrong, he'd be on my bench most weeks. That's why I've got him. But yeah, he could be a quality striker. You never know. So yeah, that is how my team is currently looking right now. Will it be my team for game week 1? More than likely not. Obviously, I mentioned Cole Palmer will be in my team. Phil Foden is highly likely to be in my team, not going to lie. And Gibbs White also is highly likely to be in my team. The rest of them, I'm not going to lie, it's up for grabs. Will it be Salah? Will it be Haaland? Will it be both? I'm just still so undecided right now. It's a pain in the arse, really. Honestly, I'd rather, the deadline hurry up so I have no choice but to stick with whatever I've got at the time. But yeah, let me know what you think of this team. Let me know what your teams are currently looking like ahead of match. Oh, guys, I said it again, game week 1. But yeah, I'm not exactly confident with this team. I think I'll change a few things around. Let me know if you think I should change a few things around. So yeah, please as well, don't forget to hit that like. Don't forget to smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you all on the next one.